You'd miss it if you blinked. A 5-year-old girl in a cereal aisle clutching a threadbare teddy bear, one hand holding her stuffed animal, the other making a small, subtle gesture, palm out, thumb tucked in, fingers curling around it. If you didn't know what to look for, it looked like nothing. But to someone who did, that hand signal was a cry for help, a silent scream, and only one set of eyes caught it. They didn't belong to a person. They belonged to a German shepherd. The canine's name was Echo. She stood alert beside her handler, Officer Ethan Morales. Just another Tuesday patrol at the local supermarket in downtown Brookridge, a sleepy little town with more parking spots than people. Nothing ever happened here. Echo usually just sniffed carts and got smiles from kids. But that day was different. Echo froze in aisle 12. Her ears perked, tail stiff, eyes locked on the little girl near the cereal boxes. It wasn't the man she was with that caught her attention. Tall, tattoos down his arms, casually browsing brands like he had all the time in the world. No, it was the girl. Echo could feel it. Something was off. Officer Morales noticed too. He followed Echo's gaze and spotted her. Blonde, unkempt hair, pink cotton dress smudged with old dirt, standing too still for a child that age. She was holding a teddy bear so tightly that one ear looked permanently flattened. But it was her hand. That hand signal. Morales' pulse quickened. He'd sat through those training sessions. Child distress signals, rare, easy to overlook. But he'd made a promise. If he ever saw one, he'd act. The man reached down and placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. She stiffened. Her gaze dropped. "Come on, Lily," he said, voice level, too calm. The girl didn't speak. She just held her bear closer. Morales gently tugged Echo's leash and casually followed. Echo had been trained to sniff out explosives, track missing persons, and detect changes in emotional stress through scent. But sometimes it wasn't about the training. Sometimes it was just knowing. And Echo knew that girl needed help. Morales kept his distance, pretending to check out the peanut butter section. His body was calm, his brain was not. The man and the girl Regueto reached the checkout. The cashier tried to talk to Lily. "What a pretty bear you have there, sweetheart." For a flicker of a second, Lily's face lit up. Then the man placed his hand on her back. And just like that, she was gone again. Inside herself. Silent. "She's shy," the man said. Echo let out a low, almost imperceptible growl. Morales caught it. He knew that sound. It wasn't aggression. It was warning. The man paid in cash and walked Lily out to the parking lot. Morales didn't follow immediately. He needed to make a call. Either do something or let them walk away. The girl hadn't said anything. The man hadn't done anything illegal. The signal could have been a mistake. But Echo stood at the sliding doors, tail stiff, head high, eyes unblinking, as the sedan pulled out of the lot. That's when Morales made his decision. He jogged to his cruiser, Echo jumping into the passenger seat with practiced ease. The patrol car hummed to life. "We're not letting this one go," he muttered. If you're the kind of person who believes in the power of animals to change lives, and you want more true emotional stories like this one, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join us here at Heroes for Animals. This is where instinct meets heart. They followed the beat-up blue sedan down Maple Street, keeping 3 cars behind. It turned into an older apartment complex on the edge of town. Morales didn't move in right away. He parked at a gas station across the street, pulled out his notepad, wrote down the license plate, Unit 2B. Then he watched. Echo leaned forward in her seat, eyes never leaving the building. "Let's wait," Morales said. And they did, for nearly 10 minutes, until the blinds shifted in the upstairs window. There she was, Lily, just a sliver of her face, peeking through a broken blind. Still holding the bear. Still watching. Still waiting. Morales reported the situation to dispatch. No official complaint, no legal reason to intervene. All he could file was a note. Observed possible distress signal from minor. Following up informally. The sergeant's voice came crackling back. "Return to station for debriefing, Morales. You know the rules." Morales looked at Echo. Echo looked at the apartment. "Nope," Morales whispered. "Not today." He drove slowly past the complex. Just once. Echo stood in the seat, sniffing toward the second-floor window. Then Morales drove back to the station, but not before circling the block and memorizing every detail of the building, every exit, every face in the parking lot. This wasn't over. Back at the station, Morales reviewed everything he had, nothing that would hold up in court. but his gut told him something was wrong. And Echo's behavior backed him up. She was trained not to bark unless there was a threat. She didn't bark at Lily, but her posture told a different story. Protective, aware, ready. Later that night, Morales sat at his kitchen table, rewatching body cam footage. There wasn't much, just shaky clips from his belt camera. Aisle 12, checkout line, Echo staring at the door. Then frame by frame, he saw it again. That hand, that tiny practiced devastating hand signal. He paused the video. Echo, now curled up by the door, lifted her head when she heard the click. "You saw it first," Morales said softly. "You saw her." That was the moment Morales made himself a promise. He wouldn't let Lily become another almost. There had to be a way to help. He just didn't know how yet. But Echo? Echo already knew. And sometimes the best heroes don't speak at all. They just listen and wait. The next morning, the light in Brookridge was a little colder. The sidewalks a little quieter. Officer Ethan Morales pulled into the department lot at 6:42 a.m., half an hour earlier than usual. Coffee in hand, Echo trotting beside him. She was alert, as always, but there was something different in her body language. A persistent readiness, as if she hadn't stopped thinking about the girl in the pink dress since yesterday. Neither had Ethan. The image of Lily's small hand making that silent signal had played in his head on a loop all night, keeping him awake long after Echo had curled at the foot of the bed. He'd read over the child distress training manual again, watched videos, studied facial cues, and more than anything, he'd stared at that one blurry still frame from his body cam, her tiny fingers curling inward. Now, as he opened his locker, he pulled out a manila folder and tucked it into his vest. Inside were hand-scribbled notes, printouts about child safety law, and a copy of yesterday's unofficial incident report, one that he hadn't submitted yet. "Early bird," came a voice from behind. Sergeant Patricia Wells, tough as nails with glacier blue eyes, leaned against the break room door, sipping her usual black coffee. 52 years old, steel gray bun, and a voice like gravel dipped in honey. She'd seen it all and had the poker face to prove it. "Got something on your mind, Morales?" she asked. He hesitated. "I think a child may be in trouble. I just can't prove it yet." She narrowed her eyes. "Let's talk." They sat in her office as Morales explained everything. Echo's reaction, the gesture, the girl's body language, the man's calm but controlling demeanor. Wells didn't interrupt. She just listened. When he was finished, she leaned back and nodded slowly. "You know that signal isn't taught everywhere. Most adults don't even recognize it." "But Echo did," Morales said. Wells looked down at the dog lying calmly beside him. "That's a damn good dog." "She's more than that," Morales said. She sensed something. She knew. Wells considered him for a long moment. "You got a gut feeling?" "Strong one." "Well," she said, pulling a file from her desk drawer, "let's make sure we follow the rules while we follow your gut." She handed him a form. It was for a community welfare check. "Let's visit that apartment," she said. "You and me, by the book. You get your eyes on that child again. You see something we can act on, you'll have backup." Morales felt a wave of gratitude, but he didn't say anything. He just nodded and reached down to clip Echo's leash. "Let's go see her." At 2:30 that afternoon, a tan, unmarked cruiser pulled up to Sunset Manor Apartments. The paint on the building's exterior peeled in strips, and a busted grocery cart leaned against the dumpster. There were bikes and plastic toys scattered outside some units, but not in front of 2B. Echo stepped out of the vehicle and instantly locked eyes on the second-floor window. "Unit 2B. Remember," Wells said, adjusting her belt, "this is non-invasive. We're not here to accuse, we're here to check." Morales nodded. Echo stayed by his side as they climbed the steps. The hallway smelled like old spaghetti and bleach. Apartment doors had cracked paint, some missing numbers. Theirs was at the very end. Faded blue. Wells knocked. Firm, professional. No answer. She knocked again. "Metro Police Department. Routine wellness check." They heard footsteps, then a pause. A chain slid. The door opened 3 inches. The same man from the store stood in the gap. Up close, he looked a little older than Morales expected, maybe late 30s, unshaven, muscular build under a faded t-shirt. Tattoos crawled down his forearms like ivy. "Officer, something wrong?" Wells smiled politely. "Just a standard community check. Had a few reports of suspicious activity in the area. Mind if we ask you a few questions?" He hesitated. Then, "Sure, I guess." He didn't open the door wider. Morales noticed everything. The man's posture, guarded. The background, quiet. A cheap couch, old TV, No toys, no color, no signs of a child. Are you living here alone? Wells asked casually. Not exactly. I'm watching my friend's kid. She's out of town for work. What's the child's name? Lily. Echo shifted beside Morales. And is Lily home now? Wells asked. She's napping. Mind if we say a quick hello? Morales added. She doesn't like strangers. Gets nervous. We completely understand, Wells said. We just like to make sure all the kids in our patrol area know they can come to us if they need anything. There was a pause. Then, she's asleep, maybe another time. Wells nodded. Fair enough, here's my card. If you or Lily need anything, just give me a call. He took the card reluctantly. Sure thing. The door closed. Back in the car, Morales exhaled hard. We didn't see anything, he said. We saw everything, Wells replied. Morales frowned. No toys, no kid stuff, no sound, no invitation. That man blocked that doorway like a bodyguard. You think he's dangerous? I think he's not the parent. Echo let out a soft whimper in the back seat. Wells looked at her. Neither does she. That evening, Morales stopped by Maria's diner for a coffee refill. Echo lay curled at his feet near the booth. The local spot was mostly empty except for two older women chatting by the window. He wasn't eavesdropping, not at first, but then he heard, the little blonde girl, yeah, saw her yesterday at Suds and Bubbles with that guy. His ears perked. She just sat there, the other woman said. Didn't say a word. Held that teddy bear like her life depended on it. I thought it was strange, the first woman continued. Kids usually bounce around, but she didn't move. Morales walked over politely. Excuse me, ma'am, sorry to interrupt. I'm Officer Morales. You mentioned a little girl? The woman nodded, concerned. Yes, at the laundromat, Wednesday afternoon. She didn't speak. The man she was with barely acknowledged her. Did she look hurt? No, just withdrawn. The other woman added, I've taught kindergarten for 30 years. I know when a child's shutting down. Morales thanked them and left with Echo. Back at home, Morales sat in the dark flipping through his notes. Next to him, Echo's ears twitched. I know, he whispered. We're not done. He pulled out a sticky note and wrote one word. Watch. Then he stuck it on his fridge next to Echo's training medals. Tomorrow, they'd go back. Not to knock. To observe. Because sometimes the truth doesn't shout. Sometimes it hides behind silence. And sometimes it takes a dog to see what people won't. The next morning dawned overcast, the kind of gray that made the town of Brookridge feel smaller than it was. Officer Ethan Morales clipped Echo's vest on with practiced hands. Her eyes were locked on his the whole time. Calm, steady, focused. The way she sat told him everything. She was ready. She hadn't forgotten the girl. Neither had he. They parked near Sunset Manor just after 9 o'clock a.m. Not close enough to raise suspicion. Just enough to see. The building was quiet. The blue sedan from yesterday was still parked in the same space. Two tires slightly deflated, like it hadn't moved in days. Morales sipped his gas station coffee, grimacing. Echo sat beside him, her ears flicking at every sound. Someone arguing 3 units down, a screen door slamming, the creak of metal as laundry lines swayed above. But she wasn't interested in any of that. Her gaze stayed fixed on apartment 2B. They waited. An hour later, movement. The man, Dante Briggs, Morales now knew from the tenant roster, stepped out with a plastic grocery bag in one hand and a phone in the other. No sign of the girl. Morales watched him cross the lot and walk toward the gas station across the street. The moment the coast was clear, Morales turned to Echo. Let's take a walk. They stepped out like they were on a casual neighborhood foot patrol. Morales kept a calm face, but his nerves were wired. They circled behind the complex. Echo stopped at the base of the stairwell and sniffed the concrete. Her nose moved fast, sweeping back and forth, then up. She looked up at Morales, whined once. She's still here, he murmured. Echo took the lead, guiding him toward the dumpster. Morales didn't expect anything, but Echo paused near the broken lid, pawed gently, then barked once. Short, controlled. Morales lifted the lid with a pen. Inside, among the old takeout containers and stained paper towels, was a half-burned photograph. A woman's face, smiling, holding a little girl with unmistakable blonde curls. Beneath it, a wrinkled crayon drawing. A house, a stick figure of a girl, and someone else. Angry eyes scribbled in red, bigger, towering. Morales didn't need Echo to tell him this was a message. Back at the station, Sergeant Wells stared down at the photo and drawing on the table between them. You still want to say we don't have enough? Morales asked. Wells was quiet. She tapped her pen once, twice. Finally, she looked up. We're close, she said, but not close enough for a court order. Morales' jaw clenched. She's in that apartment, Pat, alone most of the time. No toys, no lights, no signs of anything normal. Wells met his eyes. I believe you, but if we move too fast, we lose everything. We need a third-party observation. Social services. Morales hesitated, then nodded. I know someone. That night, over diner coffee and a lukewarm cheeseburger, Morales sat across from Vanessa Reyes, a seasoned social worker with sharp instincts and soft eyes. She was in her late 30s, calm but assertive, the kind of person kids trusted within minutes. When he showed her the drawing, she didn't speak for a full 30 seconds. Then she looked up. Do you know how many kids draw pictures like this before they ever say a word? Too many, Morales replied. Vanessa took a breath. Let's do a welfare visit. Quiet, non-confrontational. Just me knocking on a door. You and Echo stay back. If something's wrong, I'll get us in. 2 days later, they returned to Sunset Manor. Vanessa walked alone to 2B, clipboard in hand, calm as a school nurse. Morales stood near the stairwell, out of sight but close. Echo sat at his side, tail still, eyes sharp. They watched through a crack in the hallway. Knock, knock. Mr. Briggs, I'm Vanessa Reyes with Child Protective Services. I just need a quick word. There was a long pause. Morales could feel Echo's tension rising beside him. Then the door creaked open. The man's voice was quieter today, less composed. She's fine. I'm sure she is, Vanessa said, her voice gentle. But I need to see her, just for a moment. She's sleeping. That's all right, we can wait. Another long silence. Morales gripped the leash tighter. Echo's body was low now, watching. Then, look, the man said. She's just here temporarily. Her mom had to leave. I don't have any papers, but I'm not hurting her. Vanessa's voice didn't change. Then let me see her? If everything is okay, I'll be gone in 5 minutes. The door opened. Morales held his breath. Vanessa stepped inside. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Echo never moved. At 20 minutes, the door opened again. Vanessa stepped out. Her face was calm, but her eyes told a different story. She walked straight to Morales. We need to escalate, she whispered. What did she say? She didn't say much, but her body language said everything. She afraid? She's not sure what to feel, but she doesn't feel safe. Morales nodded once. Then let's get her out. Later that evening, back at Morales' apartment, Echo lay curled up by the sofa while he sat at the table with Vanessa, going through forms. She told me, Vanessa said quietly, that the bear's name is Mr. Buttons, that it's the only thing she has left from her mom. Morales rubbed his face. Do we know where her mother is? No records of a Lily Monroe in any local schools. No pediatric files. It's like she doesn't exist. So what happens now? We go formal, Vanessa said. I'll file for a court-authorized welfare check first thing in the morning. With what we've got, this drawing, the burned photo, the statements, we'll have cause. She looked over at Echo. She was right from the beginning, wasn't she? Morales smiled faintly. She always is. That night, Morales couldn't sleep. He got up around 2 a.m., threw on a hoodie, and stood at the window staring out into the street below. Echo patted up beside him, pressed her head to his thigh. We're close, he whispered. Just one more step. He looked down at her, brushing his fingers through her fur. You're not just a good dog, Echo. You're a good cop. Her tail thumped once on the floor. Outside, the wind picked up, and somewhere in the city, a little girl clutched a teddy bear and waited. The morning of the welfare check was unusually still. No wind, no bird sounds, just the hum of engines and the occasional bark of a distant dog. Inside the cruiser, Officer Ethan Morales sat in the driver's seat, uniform crisp, hands tense on the wheel. Echo rested quietly beside him, her amber eyes fixed on the entrance of Sunset Manor, like it was a crime scene waiting to happen. In the back seat sat Vanessa Reyes, social worker and moral compass. Her clipboard was full, but her tone was calm. Remember, she said, adjusting her ID badge, we're not here to accuse. We're here to verify. If the child's okay, we move on. If not, we take action. With compassion, not confrontation. Ethan nodded but didn't answer. Echo stood the moment the engine stopped. She was already ready. They climbed the same stairs they'd climbed before. This time, they weren't knocking gently and hoping for access. This time, they had a signed court order in Vanessa's satchel and legal right to see the child. Vanessa knocked sharply. Mr. Briggs, this is Vanessa Reyes with Child Protective Services. We're here for a legally authorized welfare check on Lily Monroe. Inside, silence. Then footsteps. Then his voice, tense, hoarse, unshaven. What do you want now? Vanessa didn't budge. I need to see Lily, and I need to see documentation that you're legally permitted to care for her. The door opened 2 inches. Dante Briggs looked worse than before. He had that brittle, sleep-deprived look of a man unraveling. "She's fine," he muttered. "I'm sure she is," Vanessa said with soft firmness. "But I still need to see her. That's not a request, it's a legal requirement." A long beat. Then finally Briggs sighed and opened the door wide. "Come in." The apartment was as bleak as before. Sparse furniture. No color, no toys, no signs of a child actually living there. Except for one thing, a small yellow t-shirt folded on the edge of the couch and a pair of tiny sneakers near the door. "Lily," Briggs called toward a closed bedroom. "Some folks need to talk to you." No answer. He looked helpless. "She's shy." Vanessa walked toward the door slowly and knocked gently. "Hi, Lily. My name's Vanessa. I help kids. Is it okay if I come in?" A few seconds passed, then a whisper through the door. "Okay." Vanessa opened it. Ethan stayed in the hallway with Echo, watching Briggs, who now looked like he was shrinking by the second. He rubbed the back of his neck and muttered, "I didn't ask for this. Her mom said it was just for a few days. That was almost a month ago." Ethan kept his voice neutral. "Where's her mother now?" "I don't know," Briggs said, frustrated. "She left town, said she was in danger, said she'd call back." "Did she?" "Once, then nothing." Ethan watched him closely. "You know her full name?" "Yeah, Tasha Monroe. Lived across the hall until she packed up that night." Ethan jotted it down. Echo sat beside him, alert but still, watching everything. Inside the bedroom, Vanessa knelt beside Lily on the floor. The little girl sat cross-legged on a faded blue rug, clutching a familiar stuffed bear, with a missing button eye. "You must be Mr. Buttons," Vanessa said, smiling warmly. Lily looked up briefly, then back down. Vanessa continued gently, "He looks like he's been through a lot." Lily nodded, silent. "Can I ask you something, Lily?" Another nod. "Do you remember seeing a police dog at the grocery store?" Lily hesitated, then whispered, "She saw me." Vanessa smiled. "She's outside right now. Would you like to say hello later?" Lily nodded again. "And do you remember the little hand sign you made?" Lily clutched Mr. Buttons tighter. "I was scared." "You were very brave," Vanessa said. Lily looked up at her. "Mr. Buttons doesn't talk, but I told him everything." Back in the hallway, Vanessa stepped out and nodded. "I've seen enough," she whispered to Ethan. "She's not in danger right this second, but she's not okay. She hasn't eaten a full meal in 2 days. No bedtime routine, no school registration, no paperwork, and she doesn't know where her mom is." Ethan exhaled. "What happens now?" "I'm placing her in temporary protective custody. We'll continue the search for Tasha Monroe. If she's found and proves fit, she can regain custody. But for now, this little girl needs stability." Ethan turns to Briggs. "You're not under arrest," he said, "but you can't keep her here." Briggs looked stunned. "I didn't do anything wrong." "No," Vanessa said gently, "but you also didn't do anything right. She's not yours, and she needs more than survival. She needs a life." Lily came out holding Mr. Buttons, her face pale but composed. Vanessa crouched to her level. "Lily, we're going to take you somewhere safe, just for a little while. You'll have a warm bed and someone to talk to. And Mr. Buttons comes too, of course." Lily's lip trembled. "Is Mommy coming back?" "We're looking for her," Vanessa said honestly, "and we'll keep you updated." Lily looked at Dante. "You made me peanut butter sandwiches." Dante's eyes watered. "I'm sorry I couldn't do better, kid." She didn't respond. She just hugged Mr. Buttons. Outside, Echo was waiting. When she saw Lily, she stood immediately. Lily's eyes lit up for the first time in days. "Hi," she whispered. Echo walked forward, slow and deliberate. Lily crouched. Echo licked her hand. Lily leaned her forehead against the dog's. "You saw me," she said softly. Ethan's throat tightened. That evening, Morales sat on the floor of his apartment, tossing Echo her favorite chew toy while the TV played quietly in the background. He was exhausted but awake. The day had ended with Lily placed safely in a temporary foster home. Vanessa had promised to personally oversee her adjustment, and Morales had filed his report with one sentence underlined in pen. Canine Echo recognized distress before any adult present. That line meant more to him than anything else he'd written in months. At 10:17 p.m., Simon, his phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa. "We found Tasha Monroe. She's alive. In a shelter upstate. Escaped domestic abuse. She's been trying to call, but was afraid she'd be traced. Wants her daughter back. More tomorrow." Morales stared at the screen, then looked at Echo. "You were right from the start," he whispered. Echo thumped her tail, and for the first time in weeks, Ethan felt something that had been missing. "Peace." The next morning, the sky over Brookridge was washed in pale orange, a promise of warmth that hadn't quite arrived. Officer Ethan Morales pulled into the department lot at 7:03 a.m., fresh coffee in hand, and Echo by his side. She hopped out of the cruiser and did a slow scan of the parking area, her nose twitching in the chilled morning air. Big day, Morales told her, tugging lightly at her collar. Let's find out who Lily really is. At the station, Sergeant Patricia Wells was already waiting in her office with a thick folder and a face that told Ethan this wasn't going to be a short conversation. Close the door, she said without looking up. Ethan did. Echo laid at his feet, tail softly thudding against the tile. Wells flipped through the papers, her eyes sharp beneath those signature wireframe glasses. Vanessa Reyes pulled a miracle, found the mother, Tasha Monroe, at a domestic violence shelter 2 hours north in Riverside County. She checked in under a pseudonym. That's why she didn't show up in any of our system searches. Ethan leaned forward. Is she okay? Wells nodded. Physically, yes. Emotionally, why she's hanging by a thread. Said she fled in the middle of the night after her ex-boyfriend threatened to kill her if she ever tried to leave. Took only what she could carry. Left Lily with Dante because she believed he was the only person she could trust. Why didn't she come back? She was trying to, but she thought she was being followed. She feared if she reached out, she'd lead her abuser straight back to Lily. Ethan let out a low breath. Echo lifted her head at the change in his breathing. What's next? He asked. Wells passed him a fresh file. Vanessa's setting up a controlled reunification. Tomorrow morning if everything checks out. But we need to do a formal interview today. Verify her story, understand her state of mind. I want to go, Ethan said. Wells raised an eyebrow. Not your jurisdiction. I'm not going as a cop, he said quietly. I'm going as the one who saw her daughter's signal. I think she deserves to know that someone listened. There was a pause. Then take the K-9, Wells said. You'll know what to do. The shelter was a long, low building tucked between a rundown church and an abandoned motel on the edge of Riverside. Nothing about it said PM, but inside it was clean, bright, and filled with the faint scent of lavender and warm bread. Vanessa met them at the front door, a tired smile on her face. She's waiting, she said, nervous. Doesn't know what to expect. Echo stayed calm but close as they walked down the long hallway. Women passed them, some with toddlers clinging to their legs. Others walking slow, shoulders slumped like their burdens were made of cement. When they reached the common room, Vanessa opened the door and stepped aside. Inside, a woman stood at the window, her back turned, blonde hair in a low, messy ponytail. Thin frame, a faded sweater clung to her arms like a security blanket. Ms. Monroe, Vanessa said gently. The woman turned. Her eyes were red, face pale, but familiar because she looked like Lily. You're the officer? She asked softly. Ethan nodded. Yes, ma'am. Officer Morales. This is Echo. The K-9 stepped forward and sat quietly beside him. Tasha's eyes filled instantly. She walked slowly toward the dog, crouched, and reached out with tentative fingers. Lily told me about her, she whispered. Said the dog saw her. Said she was the only one who did. Echo pressed her head against Tasha's knee, tail wagging slowly. Tasha broke down. They sat in a quiet corner while Vanessa prepared the paperwork. Tasha explained everything. How her ex, Marcus, had slowly become violent. How the threats escalated. How he said he'd take Lily from her if she ever tried to leave. I believed him, she said, so I left before he could. Why not take Lily with you? Ethan asked, gentle. I thought I'd be moving from place to place. Shelters, cars, friends' couches. I couldn't do that to her. Dante lived across the hall. He worked nights, didn't drink, never said anything mean to her. I thought, just for a few days. Ethan nodded slowly. You made the best choice you could with what you had. Tasha buried her face in her hands. I didn't think it'd be this long. Every night I planned to come back. But every day, I'd see his truck outside somewhere. Vanessa said you called Dante once. I was hiding behind a gas station dumpster, using a prepaid flip phone I bought with loose change. Ethan looked at Echo. You're safe now, he said, and she is too. Tasha wiped her eyes. Can I see her? Tomorrow morning, Vanessa said gently from the table. We'll bring her here. Somewhere safe, supervised. We want it to be healthy for both of you. Tasha nodded. I understand. That night, back in Brookridge, Morales sat at home, staring at his computer screen. He clicked open a file marked Lily Monroe, Observations. He added a final note. Mother located, protective, intelligent, emotionally traumatized but coherent, motivated by safety. Separation due to immediate danger, not neglect. Case consistent with flight from domestic violence. All parties acted out of survival. He looked at Echo, who was curled up by the fridge, one paw across her favorite tennis ball. "You did it," he said. "You gave a child her mother back." Echo thumped her tail once. The next morning came with golden light and the scent of new beginnings. Lily sat in the foster care waiting room, clutching Mr. Buttons tighter than ever. Her feet swung off the edge of the bench, not touching the floor. She wore a clean pink hoodie and fresh jeans, but her expression was the same. Guarded hope. Vanessa crouched beside her. "Lily, remember how we talked about today?" Lily nodded. "Your mommy's here, she's been looking for you, and she's okay." Lily's eyes lit up, but only a little. "Will she stay?" "We're going to make sure of it," Vanessa said. At the other end of the room, the door opened. Tasha stepped inside. Their eyes met. "Mommy?" Lily whispered. Tasha knelt, arms wide, heart in her throat. "I'm here, baby girl." Lily didn't run. She walked slowly, every step deliberate. Then she dropped Mr. Buttons and collapsed into her mother's arms. Everyone in the room tried not to cry. Even Ethan looked away for a moment, blinking back something in his throat. Echo didn't move. She just sat by the door, tail sweeping the floor once, twice. Then she turned and looked at Ethan like she already knew. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning. 3 weeks after the reunion, spring arrived early in Brookridge. The dogwoods were blooming along Maple Street, and the air smelled like fresh-cut grass and honeysuckle. Officer Ethan Morales rolled down the window of his cruiser as he turned into a quiet school zone, sipping gas station coffee and listening to the scanner hum low. Echo sat beside him, head out the window, eyes blinking slowly in the wind. They didn't have a call. They weren't chasing anyone. No drama today, just a slow patrol through familiar neighborhoods. But Morales had learned something these past few months. The quiet days were the ones that mattered most, because that's when the small things revealed themselves. And small things, he knew now, could save lives. At Brookside Elementary, the yellow buses were lining up, tires squealing softly as they rolled to a stop. Kids in backpacks the size of their torsos poured off the steps, laughing, yelling, some dragging musical instruments or sports gear behind them. Morales slowed as he passed the gate, nodding to the school staff, keeping an eye on the chaos. Echo sat up straighter. Morales glanced over. "What is it?" Echo didn't bark, didn't whine. She just stared. At the fence. Morales followed her gaze. There, near the far corner, a little girl stood alone, face pressed between the metal bars. She couldn't have been more than 6, wearing a navy jacket and holding a worn pink backpack to her chest. She wasn't talking, wasn't waving. She was waiting. Then, almost imperceptibly, she raised her hand. Palm out, thumb tucked in, fingers curled slowly. Morales' blood went cold. Echo let out a low, alert bark. He pulled over fast, lights off. "Stay here," he told the K.A. He stepped out slowly, calmly, like any other school officer checking in. As he approached the gate, the little girl stiffened, but didn't run. "Hi there," he said gently, crouching. "I'm Officer Morales. What's your name?" She looked past him, her lips trembled. He kept his voice steady. "Are you okay?" She looked down, then whispered, "My mom, she was supposed to pick me up." "Okay," Morales nodded. "Do you want me to help you find her?" She nodded fast, too fast. He glanced at the school building. A teacher was already walking over. "Everything all right?" she asked, concerned. "We'll figure it out," Morales said. But something in his gut twisted. The girl's eyes, they held the same fragile hope Lily's did. And hope like that didn't live in happy homes. The girl's name was Aria McLean, 1st grade. Checked in that morning. But according to the teacher, her mom hadn't come to pick her up for over an hour. No calls, no note. Morales stayed calm. He took Aria inside, got her a juice box, called the number on file. It rang once, then disconnected. He called again. Same result. Then Echo barked from outside the window. A sharp, reactive sound. "Something's off," Morales murmured. 30 minutes later, Child Protective Services arrived. Same process, same paperwork. Different little girl. Vanessa Reyes wasn't on shift, but her colleague, a younger social worker named Amanda Chen, handled things with quiet professionalism. She spoke to Aria kindly, asked simple questions, got limited answers. But the signs were there. Missed pickups, inconsistent attendance, unexplained bruising mentioned in a prior report that had never been followed up. Morales filled in what he could. As they spoke, Echo came to Aria's side and sat down without command. Aria reached out, hesitating, then touched her gently on the head. "She's nice," the little girl said softly. Morales crouched beside her. "Her name's Echo. She's a good listener." Aria nodded. "I told her mommy gets really mad sometimes." Amanda gently touched Morales' elbow. "That's a red flag." He nodded. "Here we go again." By the end of the day, Arya was placed in temporary care pending investigation. Morales went home, exhausted. Echo curled on the couch, not even interested in her chew toy. Morales heated up leftover chili, stood at the window as the sun disappeared behind the trees, and thought about patterns, how one signal had led him to Lily, and now another had led him to Arya. Two little girls, two silent cries, same gesture, same fear, same eyes. He sat down and opened his laptop, clicked into a blank file. Title, Echoes They Leave Behind. Then he typed, "It's never loud. It's never obvious." Sometimes the quietest voice in the room isn't a voice at all. It's a gesture, a glance, a dog who won't stop staring, a child who doesn't speak but begs you to see her anyway. He leaned back. Echo looked up from the floor, tail twitching. "You knew again," he said quietly. She blinked, then rested her head on her paws. The following Monday, Morales visited Lily's new home, a small, clean duplex on the east side of town. Tasha had secured a part-time job at a local clinic, and with help from support programs, she was rebuilding. When Lily opened the door and saw Echo, she gasped. "Mr. Buttons, look who it is." She ran to hug the K9, who accepted it like she always did. Gentle, still, steady. "You doing okay, sweetheart?" Morales asked. Lily nodded. "I'm learning my letters again, and Mommy lets me sleep with the window open when it's nice out." Tasha stepped into view. She looked stronger now, skin fuller, eyes brighter, posture upright. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You're the one who kept going," Morales said. "I just helped connect the dots." "No," Tasha corrected. "You stopped. You looked. You saw." Not many people do that anymore. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Lily whispered, "Did Echo see anyone else?" Morales looked down at her. "Yes," he said. "Another girl, just like you." Lily's brow furrowed. "Did she make the sign?" "She did." "Then Echo saved her too." That night, Morales pinned another drawing to his fridge. It was from Lily, crayon figures. Echo, Mr. Buttons, Lily, and a tall man in blue with a badge, all holding hands in front of a bright yellow sun. In shaky letters, "Thank you for seeing me." He stared at it longer than he meant to, then scratched behind Echo's ears and whispered, "Let's go find the next one." Somewhere in the woods outside Brookridge, Echo stood at the edge of a wide clearing, nose high, chest still. It was sunrise. Dew clung to the grass. Her ears flicked at the sound of a distant squirrel. Her handler, Officer Ethan Morales, stood a few paces behind, coffee in hand, watching her like he always did, with a quiet kind of reverence. The early light hit her coat, and for a moment she looked like something carved out of gold and muscle. Pure instinct wrapped in purpose. "You're not even pretending this is just a bathroom break, huh?" Morales murmured. Echo didn't move. She was tracking. Even off duty, she was always working, always seeing. Back in town, things had changed. Lily Monroe was in school now, real school, with lunchbox notes from her mom and scribbled homework pages with backward letters. She liked music class, hated carrots, slept with Mr. Buttons under one arm, and a new nightlight that she helped pick out herself. Tasha, her mother, was rebuilding, slowly, carefully. Shalom. With weekly counseling, a solid support group, and a new job that didn't require night shifts or false smiles. She still flinched at sudden noises. Still double-checked the locks, but she was breathing again. Really breathing. And Dante Briggs, the man who had taken in a little girl when no one else would, was attending night school to become a licensed childcare worker. When asked why, he'd said, "Because the only good thing I ever did in this life was keep that kid safe, and I want to do more of that." The ripple effect was real. One gesture had started it. One canine dog had answered it. Morales returned to his patrol routine, but things weren't the same. He started noticing everything more. How kids looked when they got picked up from school. How grocery store clerks interacted with parents. How small gestures could speak volumes. He'd begun teaching part-time at the local academy. Human Behavior in Canine Patrol, a course that mixed case studies with field instinct. Echo sat in every lecture, and no one ever fell asleep when she was in the room. There was a framed drawing in the back corner of the classroom, crayon stick figures, a big ding, and bold, wobbly letters. "Thank you for seeing me." The cadets always asked about it, and Morales always told the story. One rainy Thursday afternoon, Morales got a call. Not from dispatch, from Vanessa Reyes. "You got a minute?" she asked. "Always," he said. "There's a girl, foster case, quiet, withdrawn. Came in last night from another county. Different background, but same silence. Same look. Where is she? Temporary shelter. She hasn't spoken since arriving. I'll be there in an hour. Vanessa hesitated. Bring Echo. The room was small, painted lavender with faded butterfly decals on the walls. It had the sterile warmth of places meant to be temporary. Soft furniture, but hard truths. The little girl sat on the floor, knees tucked under her, facing the wall. Morales entered first, gave her space. This is Echo, he said, softly gesturing to the dog. She's a good listener, doesn't talk much, just pays attention. Echo padded forward on her own, sat down at the girl's side, and placed her head gently in her lap. The girl's body trembled, then stilled. She reached out, barely, and placed her hand on Echo's back. For 10 whole minutes, no one said a word. Then the girl whispered, "Does she know secrets?" Morales smiled gently. Yeah, that's kind of her thing. That night, Morales sat on his front porch, rain tapping the tin roof, Echo curled at his feet. He thought about how everything had started. Not with sirens or chaos, but with a little girl holding a teddy bear in a cereal aisle, asking for help without saying a word. He thought about how close he'd come to walking away, and how close Echo had brought him back. A few weeks later, Morales received a package in the mail. No return address, just a child's drawing inside. It was Lily again. This time, the picture showed two scenes. One of Echo standing in front of a girl at a grocery store, and one of Echo sitting beside another girl, this one in a shelter. The words at the bottom said, "She sees all the kids, even the quiet ones." The department held a small ceremony later that month, nothing formal. Just a quiet recognition in the squad room, coffee and donuts. Some kind words from the chief. Morales didn't want a plaque, but they gave one to Echo. It read, "To Echo, who listens when no one else does." She didn't understand the words, but she seemed to know it meant something. She sat straighter that day, and even wagged her tail for the camera. Weeks turned into months. The calls changed. The tempo of town changed. But Morales and Echo kept moving. And every once in a while, Morales would pass a schoolyard or a grocery store or a park bench, and Echo would pause. Not bark, not pull, just pause. And Morales would stop too, because sometimes seeing was enough. And sometimes just stopping was the bravest thing you could do. One day, while sitting in traffic near Main Street, Morales spotted a small family crossing the street. A woman with blonde hair, a little girl with a lunchbox, and a familiar teddy bear dangling from her arm. He smiled. Didn't wave, didn't honk, just watched. Echo sat up in the seat, tail wagging. "Yeah," he whispered, "she's doing okay." The day Echo finally retired from active duty, Morales didn't replace her. Couldn't. Instead, he began volunteering Echo and himself for child trauma response work. Hospitals, shelters, crisis centers. Kids didn't always want to talk, but they always trusted Echo. And sometimes, one moment of trust was all it took to start healing. Some stories end in explosions, some in trials and headlines. This one ended with a quiet dog, and a signal only she could see, because sometimes the biggest hero in the room walks on 4 legs and doesn't say a word. And sometimes listening is what saves the world. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey with Echo, Officer Morales, and the children they help protect. This story was inspired by real K-9 units across the country who work every day in silence, doing extraordinary things. Now we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed a moment of silent bravery? Something small that changed everything? What do you think makes animals like Echo so uniquely attuned to human pain? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs hope today.